Many thanks for choosing us. After being labeled as the worst performer against the dollar, relieving the Sri Lanka rupee of this unenviable position, the Ghana Cedi is now touted as the best trading currency against the American greenback. The currency has appreciated by more than 16% in the last 2 weeks and continued to stand tall against the dollar in an ailing economy. Joining me is my colleague Isaac Kofi to help us understand the Cedi's new path. Kofi, what is the current rate and what has been the trend so far?
Right, so we've been checking from some forex bureaus and banks, and we can see the current rate hovering between 11 cedis 50 pesos and 12 cedis 10 pesos. Now, if you look at last week, the cedi was trading $1 is to somewhere around 12 cedis, and some 50 pesos. Now we have between 11 cedis 50 pesos and 12 cedis 20 pesos being the the range for the trading currently.
So walk us through some of the factors accounting for the significant appreciation.
Well, if you look at, we can talk about some three factors helping the cedi to gain some strength. So if you look at the cedi, for instance, it's been able to gain more than 16% of its value that it lost this year, just in less than 2 weeks. So one factor that probably is helping the cedi to gain value is the fact that we have crude prices going down. This is because you see crude import of refined, crude actually put a lot of pressure on the Ghana cedi. So if you have the prices going, down, it puts a lot of less pressure on the cedi. We can also talk about the American government. We know the U.S. also battling with inflation. They are doing all sort of monetary policy arrangements, and now currently they are actually slowing down in terms of the monetary policy tightening and making dollars more available than they were doing, 2 months or 3 months ago, where the rate was so high to the extent that they were mopping up the available dollars actually from the system and was really affecting the cedi. Now, if you look at the IMF deal, that's the staff arrangement that has just been announced. If you look at it on the IMF's website, it's there. Ghana has been able to reach, a 3 billion IMF, staff level arrangement. This is actually helping the cedi. It's actually restoring some confidence in the investor community, and the cedi is actually profiting from it. So it's been, a good week for the cedi, especially if you look at last week, for instance. The cedi gained more than 10% of its lost value. So the cedi was actually touted as the worst performing currency. Now it's actually the best performing currency against the dollar if you look at it within this period under review. There's some good news for traders and then also for investors.
Kofi is our in-house data analyst. Let me bring in Kweku Ako. He's a currency analyst and he has more for us. Kweku, thanks so much for joining us. How long should we be excited about this?
Okay, so thank you. Just like Kofi described earlier, what we realize is that the currency's depreciation is stemmed from two sources. That is the improved clarity on the market, because most of the depreciation sometime past were more speculative driven, or as we would say, there were more speculative attacks on the cedi. And as such, now that there's more clarity on the debt treatment, we see the cedi start to appreciate. As well, you can also look at it from the foreign perspective, or how the dollar is also performing across board. And you realize that since the Fed started to slow speak its monetary policy stance, or give a signal of a loosened monetary policy stance, what has happened is that the USD has also depreciated against major trading currencies. As well, there are some fears that the US might be teetering on a recessionary standpoint because of the continuous hikes, as it's expected that they would hike policy rates again in their December meeting, and then slow down the hikes, not necessarily stop hiking, but slow down the hikes. And as such, we can be a bit happy in the near term, because just as has been announced and we've all seen in the press, Ghana has reached a staff level agreement with the IMF for a fund-supported program to the tune of about 2.24 billion SDR or 3 billion US dollars. And as such, we believe that will also bolster international reserves as well as help in the facilitation of the post-COVID policy for economic growth. So I believe in the near term, we can be a bit happy, if we should say.
What does the future look like? I mean, should we expect further appreciation?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In the near term, because now there's more clarity, and you'd realize that whenever there are speculative attacks, right, a currency is usually oversold. And as such, once there's clarity or the market is a bit certain on how it's moving forward, you'd expect a correction in such sales. Whether in this case, people who have bought too much of the forex will now try to leave their positions and come in for the Ghana Cedi. So in the near term, I believe that we should be quite happy around this appreciation.
Let's look at what this, the impact of this on the economy generally. Are there implications?
Yeah, there are general implications, especially for the inflationary side, because you do realize that most of our inflation, comparing, let's say, our past, all our inflation prints for the year has been dominantly from the import side. So looking at the inflationary figure now, God willing, tomorrow, as the statistician would announce the inflation, it won't really capture this phenomenon yet, because what we realize is that we are still reporting inflation for the previous month. But the inflation print that would be announced for the month of December should see some improvement, where we don't really have the depreciation factoring or the exchange rate pass through so much into inflation due to the stable currency or the strengthening currency, if I should say.
I'm grateful for your time, Kuku Ako. He is a currency analyst, and he's been explaining what the appreciation of the cedi means to the economy. Let's get to it.